Welcome to Music Forever, a podcast by the New Horizons International Music Association. I am Irene Cohen. Catherine Blake has a master's degree and a diploma in adult education. She is currently enjoying retirement, but worked for 30 years at Western University, first in continuing studies, then in the Faculty of Medicine, managing courses for faculty, staff, and the community, and the final 10 years as a research coordinator working on dementia research projects. She has been a member of the London, Ontario New Horizons Band since 2000, and also plays in Sounds of Swing and Jazzabelles, two community swing and jazz bands in the city. Mark Kearney is an author and an award-winning journalist. His latest book is Christie, Hollywood's Forgotten Film Pioneer, published in 2023. He has co-authored 10 other books and contributed to another 3. Mark is currently a lecturer at Western University, teaching a range of journalism courses. Over his 20-plus years there, he has won several awards for teaching, including the Dean's Award of Excellence in Teaching in the Faculty of Media and Information Studies. Mark lives in London, Ontario, and plays clarinet with the New Horizons Band at Western University. He also plays in the Alte Klezmer Group and strums his ukulele weekly with the Southern Ontario Ukulele Players. He and his wife, Catherine Blake, are long-term members of NEMA. The interview took place in London, Ontario in February 2025. So welcome, and thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having us.
Yes. So tell me a little bit how music got in your life.
Growing up, my family wasn't musical. My mother played piano. She had a ukulele that she would play once in a while, but none of us really took music lessons or anything like that. But there was a lot of music in the house. In the car, we would always have the radio on, that kind of thing. But not from an instrument standpoint until I was maybe 20 in university, and I took guitar lessons.
I didn't come from a musical household particularly at all. My father played the piano, but we had a piano in the house, but he didn't have much time to play it. My mother was not musical at all. She didn't even play the radio. I loved music, always loved music, all different kinds. I would play the radio constantly, mostly pop, but I never learned an instrument. I wasn't in the school band. It wasn't offered to me. It wasn't available to me.
Both of you sing really well.
Well, we like singing. If there was a choir in high school, I certainly wasn't part of it. So singing was singing along to the radio.
Pop singing, yeah.
Pop and folk songs.
Yes. I did take piano lessons when I was a kid, but just for a year or two until I begged my parents to let me stop. And then I took piano for a year or two as an adult. It was fine, nothing wrong with it, except that you go to your lesson, and then you go home and you practice, and you go to your lesson, and you go home and you practice, and there's no community around it. It's just you and the keyboard and homework.
So then you found out about New Horizons at some point in your life.
I joined the band in 2000, and it was in its second term, so it was still starting up. I picked the saxophone because I loved the sound of the instrument, and in high school I used to listen to Junior Walker and the All-Stars. I thought, wow, listen to that sound. It's also a very pretty instrument. When you open the case, you think, oh, it looks like a jewel. When you ask people about regrets, they often say they wish they'd learned to play a musical instrument. And I didn't want that to be me. But if you didn't play in high school, it was really difficult to find a way in. And so when this opportunity presented itself, I just jumped right in.
Catherine went first. There's always a little concert after those first sessions. So there was a group ahead of you that was sort of the advanced band of its time because they'd been playing for maybe 3 or 4 months more. And to me, they sounded amazing. Like, wow, they haven't even been playing for a year, but boy, look at what they're doing. Catherine got me tuition, I guess, for the next band session, and I picked the clarinet, partly because I'd actually owned a clarinet in my 20s, for some reason, I bought one. I guess I just liked the sound of it, and ended up eventually selling that clarinet. But this was my way back in, so I chose the clarinet. And again, same thing. After 10 or 12 weeks, I was in the beginners, and we were playing 4 or 5 really basic songs. Her band sounded even more amazing. It seems like within a year, you can really be making some good sounds. So that's what kept me going.
Right from the first lesson, I was hooked. You open the case, you learn to put the instrument together. Somebody tells you where middle C is, and you look at a fingering chart, and then you start to blow. At the end of the first 13 weeks, we were playing in a concert. It was scary, really scary, but also amazing. And it hasn't stopped being scary and amazing ever since.
You were still working.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. There were a lot of other people of our age or older, some a bit younger. And again, some people like me who had really never played that instrument before were just starting out on whatever the instrument was. And then there were some of these people who had played in high school and had not played in years and years and had come back. So maybe they were starting from a slightly higher level than the beginners were.
Yeah, you're at it now 25 years. What has this meant to both of you?
It's primarily an educational experience for me. I've just learned so much. It's like learning a whole other language. You get to be literate in another language, so that's amazing. You get to play with players of a wide range of abilities and all making music together. And because the New Horizons philosophy is your best is good enough, it does alleviate the stress a little bit. There's always somebody near you playing way better. And that's okay, They can take the hard parts. Our players range in age from early 20s to probably mid-80s, and they all mingle and yak and hang out and have fun. It's really a remedy for isolation. It's great to meet so many people from so many different backgrounds.
The people who end up going to this band program end up being good friends. We all hang out, right? And you get to know people, and it's not just you're showing up on Saturday mornings and seeing them then. Got other social things that we do with people. I mean, it's life-changing, really, in so many ways. What if I had not joined this band? What would I be doing? And it's like, well, I wouldn't know all these people. I wouldn't have gone to Europe when we've gone to Europe and played. Just doing concerts in front of people. And that's part of the enjoyment, too, is that once you've done concerts on a regular basis, I'm not saying you don't get nervous still, but it just becomes a much more enjoyable experience. And we were just doing a concert yesterday. I just thoroughly enjoyed playing. I thought, what, this sounds good. I'm hitting the notes, and people are clapping along, or they're enjoying it for sure. That we're playing songs that we like. And, I can do this. Sometimes you have to stop and say, what, look, I can look at this music and I can play it. Wow. That's just, to me, is kind of incredible.
Yeah, yesterday was another eye-opener for me. It was a bad snowstorm outside. We were in a mall, and we didn't expect any audience. And the opposite was true. I mean, it was standing room only.
Yeah.
What I found so striking was that there were a lot of younger folks in their 20s filming us with their phones as if we were something out of this world.
Yeah.
And I wonder if, in fact, we are starting to become that.
It's interesting you say that, because I watched as all these people, mostly young people, would see the band playing and they'd immediately get out their phones and start recording something. Woo, this is something so special. I need to record it.
Yes. And so the question is, are
live music.
Concert bands, especially with sort of older folks, is that becoming, a thing of the past, given that music education is shrinking significantly globally, that maybe we are becoming a bit of an anomaly?
Yeah.
Well, maybe we're becoming role models. Maybe people are looking at us and going, hey, look, we could do this. Wouldn't that be fun? Like we've known people, friends of ours, who've joined the band because they can't be perfect. They find it frustrating. Maybe they're used to being perfect in their professional lives or having a higher standard in their professional lives. And I can see that it's frustrating for them. And some of them have left because they realize they can never be perfect. And I think, that's just sad. You're getting in your own way because you're using the wrong metric here. It's supposed to be fun. You learn stuff, you're with friends, you're hanging out.
We have had consistent conducting from conductors since the start of the program, which is 26 years now. Maybe give some idea what your feelings are about, in my opinion, these wonderful people who are hanging in there, teaching many new generations of adult musicians.
I think because the focus is on education, I'm hoping that they see growth and that they're pleased that everybody's really trying hard and that we get exposed to all kinds of different composers and different kinds of music. Some are very melodic, some are very rhythmic, some are just plain weird, but it's all really fun to learn. There's such a feeling of accomplishment when you nail it or even almost nail it. And so they must love that they can introduce us to new things.
Yeah. Well, and I think just sort of to shout out to Mark Enns, because he's been our conductor for almost 25 years. First of all, he's willing to try different kinds of music that not every concert band would maybe want to try, but I've always found them interesting. Secondly, and I'm sure this is true of most people who are conductors in this program, have to be very patient, because after all these years, there's still things like dynamics and whatever that you think, surely by now we should know that when it says P, that we should play piano. And yet, sometimes we just do, oh yeah, right, because we're still concentrating on the notes.
The university music students are the instrument tutors to the new adult learners. And I love that. I just love that intergenerational learning thing. I love that we learn to play, and at the same time, they learn to teach. So how great is that? What must keep conductors on their toes is how we make mistakes in whole new places each time. We play a piece called Gaslight Gaieties, and it has unusual rests, and somebody invariably boops in the rest. Now we think it's hilarious, and we all laugh.
Yesterday during the concert, the entire band missed one whole bar, and Mark was clearly conducting it. And we all came in perfectly a bar later, the whole band.
I know.
It just shows the amount of fun we have, and that really perfection doesn't matter, right? And the audience never noticed. You were very heavily involved in organizing the first Canadian music camp or band camp in St. Catharines, Ontario, at Brock University.
That's right, yeah. That was in 2012. Sylvia Davis, one of our members, had been president of NEMA, and she traveled around to many band camps around the States and thought that really it was time that we stepped up and did one. Mark and I and others were on the planning committee, and we held it at Brock University because it's in St. Catharines. It's 50 kilometers from the American border, so it would be easier for our American friends to come up and join. It was a 5-day camp. It was a lot of work and a lot of fun. We had Dixieland, a pop, a Broadway choir. We had tin whistles and spoons. And so there was all kinds of fun little extra things for people to try outside of their regular instrument. The Niagara region is beautiful, so people got to tour around and look at the falls and go to wineries and do all that lovely stuff.
And one of the reasons we did it in 2012 was we just sort of did his 200th anniversary of the War of 1812, which we thought will have Americans and Canadians together playing instead of fighting, which was a good thing. The band camp itself didn't really have much to do with that. And I think a lot of people had a great time and played some wonderful music.
Yeah, we had a section singing, people had ukuleles and singing Canadian folk songs. So that was nice.
So Mark and Catherine, you were both very instrumental in organizing international trips that our band went on. I think we may be the only New Horizons band that has done that regularly. Tell people how you came up with the idea.
But it began as a joke. It began as just a lark. We were joking about visiting towns near us here in Ontario that have the names of world capitals. So near us, not too far, an hour away, is Paris, Ontario, and there's Zurich, Ontario, and there's Dublin, Ontario. So we were making all kinds of jokes about piling into a bus and going to the Ontario world capitals. But then we thought, well, why not? Why don't we actually go to Europe? That's how crazy this was. It was audacious and hilarious because we'd only been playing for about 6 years, and we played at a high school level. But the conductor was game if enough people wanted to go. So we found a travel agent who was experienced with school band trips. And we put it out there, and 45 band members signed up right away. So off we went. And it was hysterical. We all knew this was ridiculous and hilarious. We were playing kazoos on the bus. It was amazing. The places we played over the years, town squares, churches, castles, courtyards, band shells. We have been so lucky. We've worked really hard at keeping the price down so it's accessible to everybody. The trips give you a chance to explore history and culture of a new place. And, we went to Poland and we played Chopin. He picks things that match the place we go to. And you get to pile into buses and travel to gigs. I don't know, just like real musicians.
And you had to sort of work out, okay, well, I want to bring my spouse and they're not in the band. Okay, well, that's fine. They're the Band-Aids, as we called them, because they would help with setup and all that kind of thing. We played the first concert outside the Schönberg Palace in Vienna. I felt so relaxed because I thought, this is just the strangest thing. Nobody's going to believe that we're doing this. Okay, here we go. And I think there was a lot of enthusiasm on that initial trip. We did Vienna, Prague, Budapest. Immediately after, everybody said, okay, where are we going to go next? And sure enough, we did it. It's been going for what, 20?
We've had
20 years.
10 trips so far, but we've been off the planning committee for the last 2 rounds, but it continues forward. So that's awesome.
What does it take to be on a planning committee of a trip like this? This has been an interest of other bands.
You have to start a couple of years ahead. You have to work really closely with the travel agent. And our formula is find three different places that are close enough to get to within 3 or 4 hours bus rides. Places to play. Those things have to be booked way ahead of time. The travel agent does all that.
So there's a lot of work that needs to go into, can you play in that venue? And it seems like, for the most part, the answer is yes. So it's absolutely doable. I mean, as long as you have a committee of a few people that are willing to brainstorm and push it through and find the travel agent that works and all that kind of thing. I'm surprised that more bands don't do this. It doesn't have to be to Europe. It can be wherever.
Some of the highlights of the trips for you personally?
Well, I'll say the one that I think a lot of people will say. We played a concert at Vimy Ridge. And for those who don't know what Vimy Ridge is, it was a famous battle in World War I that the Canadian soldiers defeated the Germans. It was a kind of a turning point battle in 1917. There's a huge monument there to the soldiers that was, I think, built in the 30s. That was something that people wanted to do. I think anybody who was there would probably say that was the most inspiring one. I guess we just felt, oh my God, we're here, and this is almost sacred ground for Canadians in France and for French too. Let's make sure we do a good job on this.
There weren't that many people there. People were there visiting the monument, and of course the Band-Aids we'd brought with us, and a big open field with lots of sheep in it. And we didn't care. None of that mattered at all. I remember we had a trumpet solo part called Nightfall at Camp, and people in the band were weeping. They could hardly play.
Yes,
Yeah,
I remember that moment too.
yeah.
And the trumpet sound broke at one point.
Yep.
I think even the trumpet player was emotionally impacted. It was very profound. Yes.
We did that one just outside of Warsaw on the Poland trip, where the community was so happy to see us come and play there. They were so welcoming, and they applauded, and they talked to us afterwards, and they said, "Come back next year." I mean, that was one, and again,
That was lovely.
Stood out for me too.
Sometimes they're unexpected places.
Yes.
You know, you have a big fancy place and it's fine, but then you go to a retirement home and it's profound.
Yeah, I remember the retirement home near Budapest.
That's right.
And we had to wiggle the buses through the narrowest of streets to get there. And there were these old Hungarian men and women, and there was a band from Canada.
Yeah.
And they had crocheted butterflies for us.
Yes.
I will never forget that.
I'd have you mine still.
Yes. And they were waving as we left from their little windows. It was just really amazing.
Yeah.
Those are incredible memories. I hope other groups will take this on as they are listening to this podcast, because it is very special. And as you say, it doesn't have to be Europe. You could also just explore places in your own area and have some fun. And they don't have to be 10-day trips.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. You could do a weekend thing. You could do whatever. It's just taking the music to some people who appreciate hearing a band come and play for them. And that's such a great feeling.
And the way it forms the community of the band community, people on a bus trip having fun together.
Yes, exactly. How do you think the group started to function after the first trip? Did you feel a noticeable difference socially?
100%.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. A shared adventure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And people that we kind of knew, but we didn't really know. It is such in a way, a monumental way of traveling, because you're not just traveling with a group, you're performing, and there's that whole anxiety of that, and you bond. And it's almost as if the music that you play is secondary. Well, it's like, could I name some of the tunes that we played on on all of those trips? Yeah, some, but mostly I just remember the trip and that we performed and that we got to play and see wonderful things, have some great adventures that had nothing to do with performing or whatever, just the off days where you did what you did.
And the conductor sometimes pulls guest conductors for one piece out of the audience. And that is charming and fun. And one time they pulled out your dad, didn't they, Irene?
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
That was great.
That was a wonderful moment.
It was a wonderful moment. That was actually in Bruges in Belgium. I remember I got up after he conducted and I kissed him, and people in the band couldn't understand why I was kissing this strange conductor. And that was a brilliant moment. And at the end of each trip, you put together a song and you write the text. And the song is always one of the songs we actually play during the band trip.
Right.
And you summarize the things that happened during the trip.
I mean, I think when you look at the music we're playing in advance, you can see which ones are going to lend themselves to writing funny lyrics. Then what I do is I print off the actual lyrics to those songs so you can see the rhyming scheme and the number of syllables in each line. So you've got a model to work from. So if you pick funiculi, funicula, or whatever, Markens waving his baton in piazzas and the Pantheon,
Lines come to your head, you jot them down, think of some things, and events happen. And it's all kind of cobbled together maybe the day before the final dinner. And it's fun. It's fun to write, and it's fun that people sing along and have a good time, and it kind of captures a little bit of what went on in the trip.
The two of you have also been to band camps. What is so special about band camps?
So band camps are so interesting because people come from all over. You get to meet people from New Horizons bands from all over the place. And they're always welcoming, always fun. The band camps are always well organized. It's like you're in high school. First period I go to band, and second period I go to, choir, and third. So that's fun. And we've always enjoyed meeting all the other people. And at the end of 3 days, you're playing pieces together. Again, it's amazing.
Band camps I've been to, there's a lot of people who are really, really good players, much better than I would ever be. They're happy to play the first parts or whatever, the solos, whatever it might be. But again, you're there and you find your spot and you get to play. Your best is good enough. Everybody's welcoming about it. You get to try out different styles of music. I remember at one band camp, we did some Dixieland stuff, and there was maybe about 6 of us or so. There's also just recreational things that you can do. Again, it's this whole social connection with music as the foundation of it.
And sometimes you get to something that's offered is you'd never get to try it anywhere else, like harmonica or ukulele or things that you would never you think, okay, this is my moment. I can try harmonica.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, working with different conductors. Learning to understand the conducting style of the different conductors really enriches music making again, because you realize there's more than one way of interpreting this.
And how good they are at adapting to whoever's in that group. They're conducting strangers mostly as well.
The other thing is that some of the New Horizons groups are really small. Suddenly you come to one of these music camps and you are in a very large ensemble and you hear all these extra instruments and the balance, which is really a wonderful experience, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely.
Amazing. I can remember us doing a Gershwin piece with, I don't know, there must have been 60 people in the band or whatever, and at least 8, 10 percussions with chimes and everything. I get to be a part of this sound. That's great.
Some of the programming that NEMA offers are the online programs, which are variable. I mean, from learning how to play a ukulele to just listening to music in many different forms. You have been to some of those. If there's somebody out there who says, is it worth attending these sessions? What would you tell them?
Oh, 100%. We've learned all kinds of new things on the online courses. There was listening to jazz, listening to
the Beatles, talk about their music and how it developed, and let's play some songs and listen to what it is they were trying to do. I really have enjoyed those ones. Ukulele was during the pandemic. Playing with people, you can't hear them, but you can hear the person who's the host of it. It's such a fun and easy, relatively easy instrument to learn.
And cheerful.
And you get all this music provided for you. That's, the course is over, and then, okay, well, I've got like 30, 40 songs here that I can play.
We took a course on how to read rhythm better. That was very helpful. I hope it helped me. I think that being in New Horizons has helped me learn to listen to music completely differently. Like, you hear the various instruments and their role in the band. Before New Horizons, I just would largely hear the melody. But now I hear so much more. You hear different instruments. You hear the format of the piece. Oh, here we come back to that first theme again. Oh, I see. We've done A, we did B, and now we're back at A. Oh, I see how this is put together now. Like, I never would have thought about that before. Oh, and wow, there's a melody hiding over there in the trombones. I never heard that before. Isn't that interesting that they're doing something else over there? Or what a cool harmony, what a cool rhythm. You just listen better.
And I never really had an appreciation for the arrangers of pieces. And that to me is the thing that really stands out for me. I actually, when we get our music, I'll say, well, who arranged that? To me, that's just an amazing skill. They've taken the melody and then they've built things around it. Okay, I'm going to have this here, I'm going to have that there. That to me is an amazing skill.
It is an amazing skill, and I think maybe also because you are an author, you appreciate this and how much work that is, but also how important it is that we pay for our music. Somebody did that work.
And should get paid.
Yes. If there would be somebody out there who approaches you and says, well, I saw you play in the mall and you guys sounded pretty good and I always wanted to play an oboe, but I am too scared. This is too much. What would you tell them?
Jump in. Don't waste any more time. Jump right in. Just jump in. You'll learn new things. It keeps your brain busy. It keeps your fingers limber. And you know that it's so good for your physical and mental health, right? Like, there's all kinds of studies about music and the impact on your brain and all that.
Essentially, what have you got to lose? Like you said, I think when you ask people of a certain age, do you have any regrets? Almost always the regret is, I should have learned an instrument. I wish I had learned an instrument when I was younger or whatever. Well, this is the chance. This is your chance to learn an instrument. And you know what? You try it. Try it for 10 or 12 weeks or whatever the session is and see what you think. If nothing else, you can say, you know what, I tried it. It wasn't for me.
No.
Or like most people in this program, they try it and go, I can't wait to get back at it. Okay. Yes, it'll be a struggle for the first few weeks for sure, but you just stick with it. And the dividends that it pays over the years, it's hard to even describe it. It's so amazing.
Let's keep playing. It's been an absolute pleasure to get to know you as co-players and as friends for all these many years. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Irene. It's been a lot of fun.
I would like to thank Catherine and Mark for giving this interview. If you would like to find out more about the New Horizons Band at the Western University in London, Ontario, please go to music.uwo.ca/outreach/New Horizons Band. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Music Forever. If you are interested to be interviewed for this podcast, please email us at nimapodcast@gmail.com. That is NHIMA podcast@gmail.com. See you next time.